Johnny Russell was born in Sunflower County, Mississippi, and by his teenage years was showing promise as a future country performer. During the late 50s, his talents caught the attention of Chet Atkins, who showed interest in Johnny as an artist. And while waiting for his turn, he turned to writing, first penning a Jim Reeves B-side, then a song that would pay the rent for a long, long time.
I hope you come to see me in the movies, more than I know that you will plainly see. You're the biggest fool that's ever made the big time, and all I gotta do is act naturally.
Act Naturally was a big hit not only for Buck Owens and Loretta Lynn, but also for a group called the Beatles. Finally, in the early 70s, Johnny got his long-awaited contract with RCA and began a string of hits as an artist.
Catfish John was a real hobo, living by the river bed, thinking back.
Catfish John, The Baptism of Jesse Taylor, and several other records kept him in the upper chart levels throughout the 70s. Today in the 80s, the future is still bright for Johnny Russell, with a new Opryland Records contract and a constant list of show dates. Of course, no Russell show is complete without his ever-famous country anthem for good old boys.
But there's no place that I'd rather be than right here with my redneck white socks and good old Stroh's beer.
Would you welcome Johnny Russell?
Welcome, Johnny Russell, ladies and gentlemen.
Johnny Russell.
My friend Johnny Russell.
Johnny Russell.
Johnny Russell.
Here's Johnny Russell.
All my friends ask, what can they do to help me get over you? But I'm not blue and all broken in two. Why should I miss you?
Johnny, it's no wonder you're so big. Your mama told me that as long as you were at the table, she didn't need a disposal. Ain't you the big one to talk? Your mama told me that one time when you ran away from home, you had to take truck around.
I was riding around with a buddy of mine this afternoon who's a policeman. And I told him, I said, you know, I've never seen one of y'all give a ticket from this side. He said, well, I'll give somebody a ticket. I don't care. So we got behind this car. He said, you follow somebody for 10 minutes and they'll do something wrong. And so we got behind this car and we followed this boy for 10 minutes and he didn't do nothing wrong. So we followed him for 10 more minutes. He still didn't do nothing wrong. Followed him for 10 more minutes. He still didn't do nothing wrong. So my buddy, the policeman, said, I'm going to stop him and congratulate him for being the best driver I've ever seen in my life. Because he's been driving for 30 minutes and we've been following him and he ain't done nothing wrong. So we pulled him over to the side of the road and walked up to the front of the car. And he said, hey, buddy, you the best driver I've ever seen. We've been following you for 30 minutes and you ain't done nothing wrong. And that old boy just looked at him. He said, well, I'll tell you one thing, officer. When you drunk, you better be careful. You know, I come out here and I tell these stories, and y'all laugh, and you have a good time, and that's what it's all about. And I like to see you laugh, and I like to see you have a good time. But sometimes I wonder if you realize that those of us that tell the stories and tell the jokes, that we're not always happy. We're not always having a good time. Sometimes we get hurt and sometimes we cry. I fell in love and I got hurt and I cried. But I wasn't supposed to let nobody know. I wasn't supposed to let it show. kind of like it was supposed to be like. No one will ever know how much I miss you, although a million teardrops start to flow. I'll cry myself to sleep, but I wake up smiling. I've lost you, but no one will ever know. I'll tell them we grew tired of each other and realized our dreams could never be. I'll even make believe I never loved you, and no one will ever know the truth but me. No one will ever know the truth but me. God bless you. Thank you very much. I love you. Run around so everybody can see you. Johnny Russell, ladies. Now I'm going to tell you now. Somebody get the hook. You didn't have to do that. I was coming back anyway.
When Johnny first came here, I was so impressed with his voice that I didn't know how crazy he is. And then I got to find out about him, and now it's a toss-up whether he's here because he has such a gorgeous voice and is such an incredible performer, or because he's crazy.
You like the guy with plenty of muscle, plenty of stamina too. But David Wilkins and Johnny Russell had too much muscle for you. Where, oh, where are you tonight? Why did you leave me here all alone? I searched the world over and thought I found true love. You met another and
I've been depressed because I've been having some terrible dreams, and I don't know. They say that a lot of it has to do with what you eat. I dreamed the other night that I swallowed a 9-pound marshmallow, and I woke up and my pillow was gone. But you know, Porter, I guess probably the worst dream that I ever had was last night, and it comes from the fact that I knew that you was going to introduce me, and I've been working a lot lately with the great Conway Twitty, and y'all were on my mind, and I guess that's, I dreamed that Conway came and picked me and you up, and we went riding, and Conway's not a very good driver, and he drove off a cliff, and it killed us. But we went to heaven, and we got there, and you went in first. And you went in, and St. Peter come over, and you said, "Hello, Saint." I think it's nice how you know everybody by their first name. You know, and he said, "Hello, Mr. Wagner." And Porter looked down, and there was an ugly woman chained to his leg. And he said, "What's that?" And he said, "Well, Porter, that's an ugly woman. He said, yeah, but why? He said, well, Porter, you just barely made it, and that's your penance. You must go throughout eternity with an ugly woman chained to your leg. And then here come Conway. And he had an ugly woman chained to his leg. And he said, what's that? And St. Peter said, that's an ugly woman. And Conway, hello, darling. St. Peter said, well, you know, Conway, you just barely made it, and that's your penance. You must go throughout eternity with an ugly woman chained to your leg. And then here I come, chained to Bo Derek. Porter come running over and he said, wait a minute. Now I come in here chained to an ugly woman. You say it's because I barely made it? Conway comes in here chained to an ugly woman. You say it's because he barely made it? Then here comes Russell, chained to Bo Derek. St. Peter just looked at Porter and he said, well, let's face it, Porter. Bo Derek just barely did make it.
A few years ago, I had the opportunity to travel around the country with one of the true superstars of country music, a fellow by the name of Charley Pride. Me and Charlie went all over this great country together, me looking at it and him buying it. And every night, Charlie would sing this song, and I always said, if I ever get somewhere and Charlie ain't gonna be there, I'm gonna do this song. Well, I don't know if y'all know it or not, but Charlie ain't gonna be here tonight. Is he, Porter? Why am I asking you? You'd lie about it. Elijah was a wooden Indian standing by the door. Fell in love with an Indian maiden over in the antique store. Elijah, he just stood there and he never let it show, so she could never answer yes or no. Poor old Elijah, he never got a kiss. Poor old Elijah, he don't know what he missed. Is there any wonder that his face is red? Elijah, that poor wooden head. You know, I like to sing songs that were made famous by Charley Pride because me and Charlie come from the same part of the country. We both come from Mississippi. He comes from a little town called Sledge, Mississippi. I come from a little town 50 miles down the road called Moorhead, Mississippi. Now you pull into Sledge and they got a great big sign that says, Sledge, Mississippi, hometown of Charley Pride. 50 miles down the road at my little hometown, they got a little old bitty sign. Moorhead, Mississippi, Charley Pride's from 50 miles up the road. Elijah wore his son to feathers and he held Tommy Hawk. Maiden wore them beads and braids and hoped someday he'd talk. Elijah! Right here, Charlie would do like this. He'd go. And you could hear the women go, oh. Every time I do it, I go like this.
And you hear the women go, what did little fat boy do then? A few months ago, I was out in Casa Grande, Arizona, and I started doing the Indian talk. And way in the back, I heard this lady. She started. And I thought, now that's cool. We talking. So I did it again. Here she come again. And there was a young Indian sitting down on the edge of the stage. He was a deputy sheriff. He was there for security. He was keeping the women off of me. He got to go home real early that night. I said, hey, man, that's pretty good, wasn't it? He said, I thought it was stupid. I said, what do you mean stupid? He said, you just married that woman, fool. Stands there lonely as can be, and he wishes he was still an old pine tree. Poor old Elijah, he never got a kiss. Poor old Elijah, he don't know what he missed. Is there any wonder that his face is red? Elijah, that poor wooden head. Well, there's really no easy way to get out of this. So if you'll just come get this mic, I'm going to walk over there and sit down, and Whitehurst can get out of it the best way he can. Thank you.